G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Well, that was a fun fight, wasn't it? Felix Cash makes his return to the ring 10 months on from his win over Denzel Bentley. He wins a 10-round unanimous decision. What was a really, really fun fight to watch. His opponent, I think it was his name, Madiev. Madiev was a Russian fighter now. He was undefeated going into this fight, but when you look at his box rec, a lot of his wins were, well, I think he 2 draws, and I think he had a couple of, split decision, majority decision wins in there. He only had 4 stoppages on his record, so he wasn't, knockout ratio or how many knockouts you have is not indicative to how hard you hit. But it didn't strike me that he was someone who was going to be going in there and really putting it on Felix Cash and would have the power to bother him. Now, in the first round, he came out quite aggressively. You could see he was looking to set up a left hook, and that was the kind of thing. He was looking to counter Felix Cash. Felix Cash, I think early on, was maybe trying to get rid of some of the ring rust, because when you saw how he was able to take control of this fight in the mid to late rounds, you wonder why Felix Cash didn't do this at the start. But you could see that Madiev was looking to try and set up the left hook. The first round was reasonably competitive, and then we go into the second round. Now, the left hook that Madiev landed on Felix Cash in the second round, he dipped slightly. You could see that was the shot he was looking to set up, just kind of given the way he was already kind of dipping down. He was waiting for Felix Cash to stop punching. And what Felix Cash did is, it wasn't just that he stayed, in the same position, with his hands down, with his glove down, I should say, for so long. It was the fact that Felix Cash was looking to set up more shots thereafter when he was finished punching. As you could see, as Madiev threw a left hook, Felix Cash was looking to get ready to throw shots again. And a left hook from Madiev landed before Felix Cash could do anything, and he went down. Now, he looked hurt, but he didn't look out of it, if you get me. He definitely looked dazed, and I'd say there was a ringing in his head, but it wasn't one of them shots where he went down, he got back up, and you thought his legs are gone. It wasn't like that. And smartly, Madiev, what he did was, he went straight to Felix Cash's body. And some of them body shots looked sore. They really did. Felix Cash was someone who, by his own admission, didn't live the cleanest life last year, put on a lot of weight, was drinking a lot of beer. So obviously he went to the body immediately because the hands were already up and Felix Cash was bringing them down. He was able to get Felix Cash back up again the ropes, landed a very good uppercut, which was interestingly on Felix Cash up again the ropes. And Felix Cash wasn't doing an awful lot. Me watching this at the time in the second round, I actually thought to myself, would the referee jump in there and stop it maybe if more of this is happening, because Cash is really not doing anything. At the end of the round, I think Madiev maybe punched himself out a bit and Felix Cash came on a little bit strong at the end of that round. Having said that, the last telling shot of the fight was a right hand that went in from Madiev. Now in the third round, Felix Cash, he really, especially the left glove, he really had that up, guarding over that left hook. He did not want to take that left hook. And it was kind of at this point was where Cash kind of came into it a lot more, and then Madiev really just looked for one shot at a time. He was looking for the right hand counter or a left hook counter. He wasn't setting them up in any way. So in the first 2 rounds, he was going in, he was using his footwork. He wasn't really jabbing an awful lot. Was Madiev. He was not jabbing too much at all in this fight, but he was using kind of feints, his footwork to get in and to try and wait for counters. At that stage, going into the third round, that ceased, and Felix Cash used his footwork and his superior boxing ability, because Felix Cash is a very good boxer, and he was having a lot of success. He was keeping at range, he was using the jab, he was using great footwork to control the distance, he was creating angles, because he would be in one position 1 second, and he'd move only slightly, maybe move on to the left, move to the right, but was doing very well. He was puzzling his opponent. His opponent, Madiev, only really knew look for counter, but by the time he was looking to set up the counter, Felix Cash had already moved away, which meant that he had to reset himself. He was constantly having to do that whilst taking shots from Felix Cash in return. It was a very good performance from Felix Cash in those rounds. Pretty much rounds 3 to round 9. He won them rounds comfortably, and I was thinking to myself, is Felix Cash going to be in a position where he might be able to get rid of this guy? And then Interestingly enough, in the 10th round, Madiev came out charging and landed a right hand almost straight off the block on Felix Cash. Was able to put him down for the second time in this fight. And Felix Cash again, he was cut this time. There was a cut certainly opening up anyway, was bleeding anyway. And Cash went and held on for dear life. Now, two things. One, that Felix Cash obviously showed good survival instincts, but the thing that kind of puzzled me is that in the 10th round, Madiev was able to go for, like his career depended on it. Where was this energy in the 8th, the 9th, and the 7th round? Because to me, obviously, he still had plenty in reserve. Why did he leave it so late? And the interesting thing is, when he really went for it like that, maybe he felt that if he did it in those rounds, Cash was a lot fresher and might have been more risky, possibly. But I did feel as though if he had that in his locker to be able to just go and charge, just charge in, throw right hands, and he was having success doing that, bit like Anthony Yard the first time we fought Lyndon Arthur. Why didn't you do it earlier? Because look at the success you had when you did do it. He seemed very pedestrian almost in the rounds prior to the 10th round. So Felix Cash held, excuse me, still have a bit of a cough. Felix Cash held on. He overdid it with the holding. He really did. He really overheld, and referee gave him a warning about it. It carried on. Referee rightly took a point. It was very messy, the 10th round. Very, very, very messy round. Cash was holding. Then they were falling into each other, and it just was messy. But that was a 10-7 round. Mixed that with a 10-8 round from the second round. And, you could argue which way the first went. You were looking at a close fight. As it happened, it didn't need... Cash had done enough in the rounds prior to get a very substantial points lead. So he was able to win this fight on a unanimous points decision. But this fight, this was interesting. I heard Felix Cash during the week saying he's ready for Eubank Jr. And a few people, bizarre, I was kind of scratching my head a bit when I seen so many people saying, yeah, he beat Eubank Jr. Based on this performance, he ain't beating Eubank Jr. He ain't beating Eubank Jr. based on this performance. There was good parts in it, but there was also moments where Felix Cash did look extremely vulnerable. I wonder had it anything to do, because Cash, saying that he's never really been in there like... the guys he's been in there with, Denzel Bentley, I thought would beat him. I was wrong, very wrong in that fight. But the guys he's been in there with, most of them haven't really had anything to bother him with. Now he's been in there with someone who's really come to try and fight, was not as skilled as Felix Cash, but was, not a million miles off him. And we've seen him have a tough fight. I wonder how he would cope with... I don't know about this version of Liam Williams, but a Liam Williams pre-Demetrius Andre. I wonder how he would have coped with that. I wonder how, he'd cope with some of the other guys in around his weight class at, that level. They're talking about going to European level next. European level can be a bit hit and a miss. You could be in a time where you could look at European level, for example, like when Ted Cheeseman moved up to European level and he fought Garcia, terrific fighter. But you could have a European champion, like remember when Sam Egan was at welterweight. I forget the guy, I think he was Spanish, the guy he fought, and he was garbage. So it's a real hit and a miss with Europeans. Sometimes you can get guys and they'll just tear through you. And other times you could have a harder fight for a British title than you do for a European title. So it's kind of a balance. It's a case of look at the draw, that sort of ways. In some aspects at European level, you get some guys with European titles and they're not very good. And then you get others who are brilliant, like Sergio Garcia. So we'll wait and see what the story is of Felix Cash. But I enjoyed this fight, definitely did. Johnny Fisher's next. I doubt I'll cover his fight, but John Ryder will definitely do, and Danny Jacobs will definitely do. So until then, I will talk. Yes, hope you enjoyed the video, and yes, fully back. Still have the cough. Still wasn't feeling good on Thursday, Friday. That's why I didn't do any videos. But good to go now. Almost 100%, 95%. Get rid of this cough, and I'm good to go. And we'll talk to you then. Peace, people.